Hello and welcome back to the IWIN series. Now, if you're thinking about doing ads, this video is for you. Even if you're already running ads and you want to make them better, then here are some key things that I would consider if I was in your position. Now, my name is Grant Singh. I'm the founder of GTM Academy. We have an academy of over 50 entrepreneurs, a lot of them which are running ads and come to us saying like, I'm running these ads. How can I make them better? Or I'm thinking about running ads. What could I do to get started? What kind of things should I consider? So this video is hopefully going to help you to contextualize ads and also help you to create ads that actually convert. Now, to get started, most entrepreneurs do try ads at some point. And when they do, they typically don't work out, okay? And they often jump to the conclusion that ads just aren't for them, they don't work for their product or service. But the truth is, the most likely reason is that ads didn't work is because you're just rubbish at ads, right? And the reason why I'm so confident in this is because I too was indeed rubbish at ads when I started out. Now, just a little bit of context. Before I started ads, my coach actually came to me and said, G, you need to start ads. You need to start running ads and get people to come to your service, right? There was a few different ways that we talked about that we could do things, but we decided that ads were the best because he also run ads for a very similar product or service and it worked really well for him. So I was like, okay. I was so reluctant to run ads when he brought this to me. I was like, I'm going to be throwing money away. I don't know how to run ads. I don't know what the process looks like. What if they don't work and I just end up wasting loads of money? And honestly, running ads has been one of the best decisions. When I look at the entirety of 2024, one of the best decisions we ever made was deciding to run ads. Okay, so I want to give you a bit of a rundown of my progress. I've only been running ads for about 8 months, like not that long. Okay, some people have been doing it for years. I have actually got coaching from people on how to run good ads, and now I've got my own results I can share with you and hopefully help you to understand, okay, over the last 8 months, what have all my key learnings been, and how can you start from this point, the 8-month point, rather than starting from scratch. Okay, so a little bit about my journey so far. Now, I spent £250 on my very first ad campaign and closed 0 people. Okay, I didn't know the difference between a website or a funnel when I started. I also didn't even believe in my own ability to be able to close people. And I had a really, really poor follow-up and nurture process for like 6 months. And I've only been running it for 8. So like 75% of the time, we had a really bad process. I just didn't know that it was bad. Okay. Now, following on from that, we have also, through ads, closed multiple 4-figure deals. We have an average of 5x ROI over our last 4 campaigns. And on top of that, we have an average CPL of £11. So imagine it costs you £11 to get someone to say, yes, I'm interested in your service. If your service costs £100, £200, £500, even per month, to have £11 for someone to say that they're interested, it's a pretty good deal. Yeah. Now, and then the last thing is also now we're booking in 1 call a day with qualified leads using our new targeting strategy. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about all of these things in more detail. If any of this you're a little bit unsure of, don't worry, we'll go into it in a little bit more detail soon. Okay, so welcome to the ads playbook. Now, these are the outcomes of today's video. Okay, you're going to understand firstly why most ads failed. You're going to understand the things that you should do before ever even thinking about running ads. We're going to talk to you about our ad success formula and also what you should do in terms of spending, right? Because a lot of people, when they want to get into ads, the big concern is how much money should I be spending on this stuff, okay? And at the end, we've also got a little gift for you. It's a 12-step ads process for every time we do a new campaign. This is something that we've created ourselves. I don't know anyone else that does this, but it's this process that we've been going through that has just made making ads so much easier, like ridiculously easier. And also on top of that, it makes it so much more predictable in terms of what results we're looking to get. So let's get into section 1, which is why most ads fail. Now, there's 4 reasons that ads fail. And the first reason is people have a really weak offer. Now, I actually want to introduce you to a concept that I had with a call. There's this ad agency guy who was teaching me a little bit about ads. And he said, I actually asked him, I was like, hey, mate, we're thinking about running ads. We've got about a budget of £1,000. Would you recommend that we get into ads? And he was like, to be honest, mate, you shouldn't do ads, right? Turned out to be wrong about that because ads have worked really well for us, but he did introduce me to a concept that I thought was really interesting and has served us very well in our process of running ads. So the concept is an offer risk matrix. Now, this matrix basically allows you to understand if you're going to run a campaign, how risky are you making it? And to be honest, if you're early stage, you want to just kind of de-risk things as much as possible, right? So let me talk you through this. The lowest risk thing that you can do is have a tested offer and pair that up with a tested audience. So what do I mean by this? A tested offer, let's say I'm running an ad campaign and I'm running it for my coaching service and I'm using the lead magnet, which is a free coaching session. Nice and simple. I know that people take up free coaching sessions with me all the time. People really enjoy it, people like it, and people will go for it, okay? So that's tested because I've done it multiple times before. The audience, let's say I typically work with entrepreneurs that are 18 to 35 based in London, right? I know that people in that audience like having my service, like having that free lead magnet. That means that it's a tested offer with a tested audience because I've done this before, which makes it low risk, right? Makes sense, okay? Now, what a lot of the time people do when they try to start ads is that they go in with a brand new offer, something that they've never ever tested before, and they go to a brand new audience and they basically make something really high risk. There's lots of different moving parts. There's things that they could get wrong very, very quickly. And ultimately, they run that campaign and they don't even know why it works or why it doesn't work, right? Even if that campaign works, they often don't understand why it worked. And then they try to repeat it and then they can't because it's such a high risk thing. There's so many variables within a new offer and a new audience that it's definitely not what I'd recommend for someone trying to start ads. You're all going to spend a lot more money and most likely waste more money if you do it this way. What I'd recommend is actually decreasing the risk. Now, some people might try to do a tested offer. So let's say I do my free coaching and I say, okay, like this is my lead magnet. But instead of going for people in London, I'm going to go for people in Newcastle, right? Or alternatively, I take the same audience that I talked about, which is 18 to 35-year-olds in London that are business owners, and instead of doing my free coaching, I actually put them onto a 6-week course, right? And that's my new offer, okay? Again, this is higher risk because I don't know if people would be interested in it. So what I recommend people do when they start ads is start in this, right? Who do I know that will buy and what do I know that they'll buy? And just try and get that function in the world of ads. Because if you can do that, then you can start to experiment with these different things. That's when you start to do different campaigns to test things. But to start with, try to just focus here, okay? So that was the first thing, right? Now, and this is in terms of like, if people have a weak offer, a lot of the time it's because it's a brand new offer that they've never tested before, okay? So in terms of like going back to the reasons why ads fail, a lot of the time people have a weak offer because they've never actually tested the offer and they've never tested the offer with that audience. So that's the first thing that I want you to be aware of. But I want to kind of like take this a little bit further, right? So let's say someone says that they have a weak offer, right? Sometimes people run ads like this where your ideal customer, okay, the person that you're looking to help says, oh, I need marketing help. And you might just run an ad that says, we help business owners. That's not very compelling. That's not very engaging. People aren't going to be that interested in it. And as a result, you've just got a weak offer. The ads aren't going to perform very well because it's so vague, it's so generic, it doesn't really feel valuable that people are just going to scroll past it and think, even if your service is perfect for them, the way that you've communicated the offer means it's so bland and vague that people are just not going to be interested. Yeah. So that's covering number one, which is the first reason why ads fail is because people have a really weak offer. The second reason why ads fail is that people have really poor targeting, okay? And we're going to get into something that you need to know a little bit more about before you start running ads, but this is just an example of it here, okay? So people try and target sometimes the wrong platform entirely. So let's say your ideal customer, let's say I'm selling coaching services, and the people I'm trying to target are all on Instagram. If I try and run an ad on Google, I might not get very good results because the location that I've tried to place the ad it's just not where my customers are, okay? So that's an example of poor targeting, but the targeting is actually based on the platform here, okay? So that's option one of like why, that's reason, like sub-reason one of having poor targeting, okay? The next thing is, even just in this poor targeting section, is that a lot of the time people say like, oh, I need marketing help. And then you might actually reach out to them and say like, okay, you've got something that can help them to grow their business. Again, the targeting is weak because someone says that they need marketing help and you say that you're going to help them to grow their business. It's just a little bit broad, right? It's just a little bit vague. And as a result, you can't really speak directly to your ideal customer, Okay, so that's another reason why when people try to run ads, it just doesn't sound good. I actually had a client that was running ads for artificial grass companies, and he was like, okay, look, I'm trying to run ads for these people, and I keep getting people that are really, really early stage. I said, okay, show me the ads. And he was like, artificial grass companies, do you need help with this, blah, 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 whatever, right? Really, really simple, calling out the audience, trying to like sell it to them. And I said, okay, all your leads that are coming through are making less than 5K a month, let's say. And you want to target people that are making more than 5K a month. Why don't you just say artificial grass companies making more than 5K a month? Yeah? Like, just target them better. Speak to them directly about the type of person that you want this ad to be seen by. That's how you can like target someone a little bit better. So again, like, it's just about improving the offer. So instead of saying like what we started off with is we can help you to grow your business, we actually say something like we can help you with marketing, right? Like, you're actually talking to the exact need of your customer, right? The next thing is lack of trust. Okay, so again, like, if we go back to this example, if you try and sell this and you've got 1-star reviews, how well do you think those ads are going to perform? If you've got loads of people saying that this service sucks, the comments are calling you out, saying that I don't like this service, they were really bad with me, or even no feedback, right? Nothing on there in terms of like, this is how good these guys are, this is how much they've helped my service. There's nothing. There's no point of reference of whether or not you're actually good. People aren't going to trust you, okay? So that's one form of trust that you need to kind of get on lock, right? Of like, if you don't have good reviews, if you don't have people talking about your service, the likelihood of your ads performing well is going to be low because these people don't know you, right? People don't trust you, and you want to be able to showcase them why they should trust you. And having some sort of reviews there is going to be the case, like, is going to be the reason why people think, you know what it is, I could give this a shot. I could try this thing out, okay? The other side of it is when you say like, we can help you with your marketing, right? I can say that to anyone. We help you with your marketing. But it's such a vague statement. It's such a broad statement. How do you know that you're actually talking to me? Like, let's say I'm a business owner. Let's say I've got one employee. Let's say I'm early on in my journey. How do I know that you're talking about me and not McDonald's, right? Because those are two different business owners that might both need help with their marketing. It doesn't feel specific. So another thing that you want to do when it comes to actually showcasing trust, or one thing that makes people not trust you, is that if you show clients or testimonials or results from people that don't actually match up with the ICP. So to give you a more specific example of this, if I said, hey, look, I can help you to get in shape, right? Let's imagine I'm a personal trainer. I can help you to get in shape. And I show you a wall of men that I've got in shape, right? I've said like, look, they've lost 10 pounds, they've lost 15 kg, whatever it is. And I show you loads of men that have lost weight. If you're a woman looking at this ad, do you feel like that's actually targeted towards you? No, because you are sitting over here looking at a completely different group of people saying like, oh, well, they all got results, but this program isn't for me because I don't fit within that group. So the association of what your ad says in terms of this is a general group of people and this is who your actual ICP is, if this doesn't actually align, if you can't get them to merge, then people aren't going to trust your ad. People aren't going to trust you to deliver a good service because the people that you've gotten results for over here don't actually match up with the people that you're putting this ad in front of. Yeah. So for example, I've got a client that I helped to go from 2K a month to 10K a month. Yeah. Now, if I say like, hey, I can help you to go from 2K a month to 10K a month, and I run this ad, and there's people that have not started a business and they've got zero income, and they see this ad, they're going to think this isn't for me. I haven't been targeted correctly because I'm not making 2K a month yet. Yeah. So that's the kind of thing that you have to think of. It's like poor targeting comes from not understanding your ICP. Poor targeting comes from not understanding what people actually want from your service. So that's 3 reasons why ads fail. And the last reason is that people have a really complicated process, right? And just to kind of visualize it, a lot of the time when people click on an ad, they've got so many hoops that they ask their clients to jump through before they can actually speak to someone. You've got to fill in this application process. You've got to go through these things. You've got to go through this clunky, disorganized website that doesn't make any sense. All these things that when you're thinking about it from a customer point of view, every time they have to jump through one of these hoops, they're one step away from actually saying, I don't want to be part of this service. I don't want to get involved with what these guys are doing. Yeah. So these are the kind of 4 things that really cause ads to fail. Okay, so if you're thinking about running ads, just keep this in mind. You do not want to be doing any of these things, right? You want to make it as simple as possible, right? Now, if you are sitting there thinking, okay, well, I understand that these are the reasons why most ads fail. I still want to run ads, so what should I do? Okay, if that's your position, then I recommend that you take a look at this section, which is section 2, things to do before you actually run ads. Okay, now, if you try to run ads without preparing, it's basically a guaranteed way to lose money, right? The thing is, you're going to be putting ads, you're going to be putting things out there for people to see. And if you can't communicate what your offer is, if you can't communicate what your service is, if you can't communicate what someone should do, if you can't communicate why they should work with you, then you're going to really, really struggle. So before you look at running any kind of ads, there's 3 things that I recommend that you do. The first thing is actually find a painful problem. Okay, and what I mean by this is that when you run an ad, you don't want to have something soft. You don't want to have something that's kind of like vague and generic. Let's say, for example, I'm a personal trainer. It's a really easy example to use. Let's say I'm a personal trainer and I want to help people, lose 2 kg over the next 8 weeks, right? It's not a lot. It's not a big amount. It's not very painful, right? And people don't feel that emotionally attached to losing like 2 kg, right? If I say, I'll help you to lose 5 kg, I'll help you to lose 10 kg, and you can be in your dream body and you can stop feeling so insecure about the way that you feel, and you can feel good about it when you go out and meet with your friends. Like, that starts to speak to like a more like, oh, this is actually a painful problem. This is something that I'm struggling with. This is something that keeps me up at night, okay? If that's not the case, and your product and service is kind of just vague and generic, then you're going to struggle to run ads. So if you're going to run ads, try and figure out what's the most painful problem you can target for your customers, okay? And your service should typically target the most painful thing as well, okay? So that's step 1. Step 2 is define your ICP. I'm the biggest advocate for understanding who your customer is. 99% of business problems can be solved by going back to your ICP. So if you don't have a strong ICP, if you don't know exactly who your customer is, if you don't know how they live their life, if you don't know their income, if you don't know how they make their decisions, if you don't know why they make their decisions, if you don't know their pains, if you don't know their goals, you don't know their motivations, you are putting yourself at a major disadvantage. I really recommend that you try and figure out who your ICP is on a much deeper level. And if you're struggling to do this, we've got video resources that will help you to do this. Look up the Pain Point Portal by GTM Academy, and you'll be able to find a video of me on YouTube explaining exactly what kind of things you should consider when trying to build out your customer. There's another video that we've also done, which is a 49-minute video on your ICP. Even that, I felt like I was cutting it short. Like, there's so much about understanding your ICP that you should never run an ad without understanding your ICP. Never, ever, ever. You are throwing money away, okay? So go and watch the 49-minute video and go and watch the Pain Point Portal video if you're thinking about running ads and you don't know your customers very well. The likelihood is you should probably, even if you do know who your customer is, you should probably go and watch those videos anyways, just because it's going to like refresh and remind you of the things that maybe you've forgotten about, because that's going to be critical when it comes to thinking about the creative, thinking about the copy, thinking about the funnel, thinking about the timings of, like, let's say you're getting people to book in a call. If you're targeting people that are in 9-to-5s and you have a booking link that is from 1 till 4 and everyone's at work at that time, no one's going to book in with you, right? But you need to know your ICP so you can make better decisions for the funnel, okay? You need to know when they'll be available. You need to know what's going to motivate them. You need to know what kind of things that they actually want from your product or service. Otherwise, you're going to really struggle to convert anyone, okay? So that's step 2. And then last but not least is step 3, create a hypothesis, okay? When you're trying to make ads, what I don't recommend is that you sit down and you say, okay, I'm going to just run this ad campaign and let's see how things go. No, that's not what you want to do. It's going to be a much weaker process if you try and do that. A hypothesis would be, let's say for your first ad campaign, your hypothesis is going to be, I want to see if I can speak to a qualified person that actually needs my product or service. Yeah, I actually just want to see if there's someone out there that would click this ad that needs my product or service. I want to see if there's anyone that will sign up. I want to see if anyone will book in a call with me. There's a hypothesis that you create, and that's going to help you to not panic if the ad campaign isn't going as planned, right? Let's say you spent £100 and you got 1 or 2 leads in. What was the hypothesis? The hypothesis was not trying to sell £1,000 worth of product or service. The hypothesis was literally, do people want my product or service? You know, you got a couple of leads in, maybe you proved that people are interested. That's it, great, you've proved the hypothesis. Then move on to the next hypothesis. What people do is that they try and run an ad campaign and then they get scared if things don't work out perfectly, but they don't actually allow themselves to test the hypothesis. Okay? So for each ad campaign, create a hypothesis of, this is what I think is going to happen with this ad campaign. Let's see how it goes. Okay? So these are the 3 things that I absolutely recommend that you do. Okay? Now, what we're going to move on to is, if you are thinking about running an ad campaign, how much should you spend? And this is a big one. A lot of people are struggling with this in terms of like, I don't know if I'm spending the right amount of money on ads. I don't know how much my first campaign should be, things like that. But to give you a bit of a breakdown, I'm actually going to give you a little Notion tour of what we do for our ad campaigns. So hopefully you can see my screen. And it might be a little bit small, but I hope you can just zoom in, as it's a little bit difficult to make this any bigger than it is right now. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down for you in terms of like how we actually look at our revenue metric. And by the way, this is a template that I'm going to be sharing with you, so you can see exactly how we run our entire ad campaign. This is the 12-step process, right? So I'm going to be sharing this with you at the end and give you a little bit more context on it and how you can use it. But to start with, I just want to focus on these ad campaign metrics, okay? Now, this is basically a calculator that we've put together of how you can run your ad campaign, okay? Now, what we do is we start off with like some sort of revenue goal. Now, you don't have to start off with the revenue goal if you're really early. If you're a little bit more developed, you might be thinking like, okay, I want to try and make this much from this campaign. Yeah, and that's just a target that you've got in mind. It doesn't really make a difference what your revenue goal is, but it helps you to contextualize like what you should be looking at. Okay, so let's say I have a revenue goal of £500. Okay, and the price per sale, which is the next metric, is for me it's £500. Okay, so my service, my coaching, one-to-one coaching is £500. Okay, then the ad budget, you can select an ad budget that you have. Okay, I recommend if you're running an ad, try and stick to at least 250 per campaign, okay? And if you do that over 2 weeks, 250 divided by 14, that's about £18 a day, okay? £20 a day. It's not a huge amount of money, even though it might seem like it at the start because you've never run ads, right? But hopefully this will be able to contextualize a few things for you so you don't panic too much about that. But let's say your ad budget is £250, okay? And let's say for me, because most service-based businesses run on LTV or a lifespan of like, this is how long they're going to stay for. If yours doesn't, they just do 1 month. But my lifespan, coaching clients typically stay with us for about 6 months. Okay. Right. And then in terms of like the cost of delivery for each coaching client that we have, let's say it costs us £100 to deliver for each coaching client. Yeah. Now I can put in the dates in terms of like the campaign. I'm going to start it on the 16th, and then it's going to finish on the 2nd. So I've got a 2 weeks time span. Typically, if you're running a campaign, I would say that you want to run it for at least 2 weeks, because what happens is like some days might work well, some days might not work well. Sometimes we have it during the week where we only have like 1 or 2 leads come through, but then for the weekend we have like 6 or 7, right? And it's like if we only did it over the week, we might realize that we might assume that the campaign doesn't work when we just haven't let it run for long enough. There's also some things which like are seasonal, like let's say you do it at the start of the year, people might be really interested in working on their goals, or if you do it towards the end of like December, let's say, people might be feeling like, oh, you know, I've just spent a lot on Christmas, I'm not interested in anything at the moment. Like, you don't want to limit your data by only spending over like a really short amount of time. Yeah. So try and make it at least 2 weeks. Okay. So what happens is that I've said what my revenue goal is, then it is what is the price per sale, and then as a result, this actually calculates, okay, well, if you're trying to make 500 and each sale is worth 500, then it just does 500 divided by 500 to tell us that you need 1 target close. Well, you just need to make 1 close over the campaign, okay? If it knows that the target close is 1, it tells us that the cost per acquisition, cost per acquisition is 250. The way it figures this out is because if I'm trying to get 1 close, then the ad budget, I've spent £250, which means that it costs me £250 to get 1 close, okay? And that's fine. I've said that that's fine because my revenue goal is 500, okay? Now, the next thing is the campaign length. So this is how many days the campaign is going to be. And this is where you can get like the daily spend. So this tells us like, okay, if you're spending £250 over 14 days, the daily spend is going to be £17. The target ROAS is £200. 200%, right? So what that means is that you're spending £250 and you're getting back £500, okay? So that's the target ROAS. And then the LTV, again, I know I'm sharing a lot of numbers with you. ROAS is return on ad spend. LTV is lifetime value. So if someone stays with me for 6 months and they're paying me £500 per month, that means that the LTV is £3,000. Okay. Now LTGP is the total profit that I get from one customer. Okay. So what that means is the LTGP is the total lifetime value minus the cost of the ad campaign and minus the cost of the delivery. Okay, so the LTGP is 3,000 minus 250 from the ad spend. Okay, and then the monthly cost of delivery was 100. So if you times that by 6, because it's 6 months, 600. So that's 600 and 250, which is 850. So 3,000 minus 850 is the lifetime gross profit. Okay, and this is calculated for you. Okay, but the lifetime gross profit. Okay. And the reason why this is important is because then when we look at our ad spend, the way that we actually evaluate this campaign and its success is by saying, okay, well, we spent £250 and we got £2,150 back. Okay. And what that helps us with is the ROAS. Okay. So we understand that we put in £1 and got £8.60 back, which means that this is a pretty good return. This is a good investment. You want a typical ROAS of at least 3 to 1. Like you want to have that kind of like minimum. But 8.6 is absolutely great. And it's something that we should take this bet every time. You should spend that 250. If you can close out one person, absolutely take that. Now I'm going to get a little bit more mathsy with this. And I want you to try and really understand what I'm going to say here, because this kind of like the numbers that I'm going to spit out are going to be important for you moving forward. Okay, so one of the key numbers is CPL. Okay, and CPL is cost per lead. Now, when it comes to actually running this, if we want to understand what a good CPL is, we need to understand a couple other metrics, right? So we want to understand what is our percentage close rate. We want to understand our percentage qualified lead rate. And we also want to understand our percentage show rate. Okay? So the reason why this is important is because let's say you're spending £250 on your ad campaign, right? What we need to know is roughly how many people are going to show up, how many people of those are going to be qualified, and how many of those are we going to be able to close. Okay? So let's say you have an 80% show rate. Okay? So I'm going to put that as 0.8. Yeah? Because we're going to do some maths with it in a second. It's a little bit easier to multiply numbers, decimals, than it is to multiply percentages. So let's say the qualified lead rate is that out of those 80%, let's say 70% of them are qualified. Okay? And then out of the 70% that are qualified, the close rate of that, let's say it's roughly about 30%. Okay? Which would be a good close rate. Yeah? You should be pretty happy with that, especially from ads. Okay? Now, the reason why this is important is because if you know that this is the kind of rates that you can expect, then we can start to figure out how much should we be looking at for one lead. Now, to figure out what we want our cost per lead to be, we're going to use a formula here. So let me just create some space. And that's going to be number of leads, right? So let's say you have 100 leads. You multiply that by the close rate, which is 0.3. You multiply that by the qualification rate. And then you multiply that by the show rate. Okay? And that is going to give us our total closes. Yeah? So for example, if you had 100 leads and you had 0.3 times 0.7 times 0.8, so that's if you give me 1 second, 100 times 0.7 times 0.3 times 0.8, that gives you 16.8 closes, roughly. Yeah? And that's the formula that we use to figure out how many closes that we're going to have. Okay? Now, if we actually want to know what the number of leads is, we then have to kind of switch this around and say that the number of leads would be equal to total closes divided by close rate multiplied by qualification rate, qual rate, multiplied by show rate. Yeah? So, this is what we're going to do to figure out how many leads you should have. Okay? So, if you are saying that here, for this campaign that we've created here, we wanted 1 close, then you divide that by the close rate, qualification rate, and show rate, that would be 0.3 times 0.7 times 0.8. Okay? So the bottom half of this equation is going to be equal to 0.168. Okay? So we're going to do 1 divided by 0.168, which is 5.9 leads. Okay? We need 5.9 leads. So the number of leads, I'll just write this out, is equal to 1 divided by 0.3 times 0.7 times 0.8, okay, which is equal to 5.9, which is equal to, let's just say 6, because we're talking about leads here and you're not going to get part of a lead. Yeah. So let's say we need 6 leads. Okay. If we need 6 leads, now we can understand what is a good CPL. So CPL, so I'm going to write this out properly, cost per lead is equal to total spent divided by number of leads. Okay. So what that means is a cost per lead. So total spent, the total number that we want to spend, or the total that we set aside, is £250. Okay. So £250 divided by the number of leads, which is 6, means that a cost per lead, is equal to 250 divided by 6, which is equal to 41.666, whatever, right? That means that if these numbers are accurate, your close rate, your qualification rate, your show rate, if they're accurate, this campaign would work out at a cost per lead of £41, right? The reason why this is important is because I see a lot of entrepreneurs, when they start running ads, they start running ad and then a lead doesn't come through at £20. And they're like, oh my God, this campaign isn't working. I need to redo the ads. I need to figure everything else out. Okay? Now, what you need to do is realize that, okay, if I want this campaign to work, I need to get these kind of, I'm okay with spending £41 per lead, because if this works out, I still get a ROAS of 8.6. Yeah? So as long as I can close 30%, as long as I can get a qualification rate of 70%, and as long as the show rate is 80%, this, as a CPL, is fine. Now, personally, I think that's a quite high CPL, but it can still work out to be very, very profitable. Okay? So it's fine. And the problem is that people spend a little bit, then they start to get scared, and it's because they don't know their numbers. They don't know what they can essentially afford to spend for a lead. So this is how you can figure out how much you can afford to spend. I would just really strongly recommend that if you don't have a sales call log for the people that you've already closed for your current business, you need to sit back and think, okay, what percentage of people do I actually close? Create a sales call log. How many people that I speak to are actually qualified? How many people do I actually show up, right? Like on average, what's my kind of average show rate? Yeah. Now we've got all of our numbers for this stuff, so we can figure out how much we can afford to spend. We know what our LTV is. We know what our numbers are, which means that when it comes to understanding our CPL and what is a good cost per lead, that's fine. Like we can do that well, and we're not stressing about, are we spending too much? Are we not spending enough? We know what each lead is actually worth to us. Okay, this is complicated. It's hard maths. It's not easy to get your head around this. But if you want to understand how much you can spend, don't necessarily think about like campaign budget and like the total amount. Think about what would a lead be worth to me? How much am I willing to spend on a single lead, and then work from there. Okay, hopefully this makes sense. If you've got questions about this, drop me a message. If we need to book in a one-to-one call, that's completely fine. We can run through how you can calculate what you should be affording to spend, or what you can afford to spend on ads. Because if not, you're just going to crap yourself every 5 minutes and think, I'm spending too much, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. If you have confidence in these numbers, you'll have confidence in the ads. Okay. It's as simple as that. So this is section 3, which is how much should I be spending on ads. Okay. Now, just to take this back, one more point that I want to add in this in terms of like how much you should spend. If you run an ad campaign and you spend £250 and you get back £2,000, how much money would you want to spend on the ads? £100, £1,000, £1,000,000? You would spend every penny you can to actually achieve this. Yeah, you would spend every penny. You would go and find money. You'd go and ask friends and family, because you know for every £1 you're putting in, you're getting £8 back. So why would you not go all in on ads? Yeah. Now, as you try to scale, you might have issues in terms of the quality of the ads. You might need to improve them and things like that. But in terms of like how much should I spend on ads, the question is, well, how much money do you want to make? Yeah. The other things to consider is like, what can your systems currently handle? And if your systems can't handle it, and let's say you get a few leads in, you get a few clients in, then you can't deliver on the service because you're a one-man band, or your current team isn't like trained enough to actually be able to handle that. Then you need to look again in terms of, okay, well, how much can I afford to actually spend? Yeah. What's my current capacity? But I would say that if you've got a machine like this, which is pumping out 8 times ROAS, I'd be pretty keen on putting as much money in as possible. Yeah. But you'll figure this out once you actually run your campaign. But I would say like you don't want to spend anything less really than £200 to £250 for your ad campaign, because you're just not going to get enough data back. And off the back of this as well, one of the questions that people have a lot of the time is, how many ads should I be running if I'm doing this? I'd recommend for your first campaign, you can have about 6 to 10 ads, yeah, for £250. I'd spend some good amount of time on them, and we're going to go into like what you should include in the creatives. But that's kind of like a general rule of thumb that I would advise on, yeah. Now, moving forward into section 4, what's the kind of success formula for ads that is going to be the kind of game-changing aspect of how you make ads that actually convert, okay? So there's 4 sections, okay? How did I come up with these 4 sections? How do I know that these sections are going to work? Well, it's pretty simple, okay? We went from the 4 reasons that ads fail, which is that they have a weak offer, they have poor targeting, they have a lack of trust, and they have complicated structure, and we just flipped it. And we said, okay, well, how do I make a bulletproof offer? How do I make precision, like amazing targeting? How do I have so much trust that people automatically feel comfortable with me? And how do I make the structure easy enough that people will actually follow it? Okay? It's literally as simple as that. Let's not make things complicated here. Let's not make things into rocket science. We're trying to run business, yeah? And the more simple things you can make things in business, typically the easier things are going to be for you, okay? So let's make it really, really easy. I'm going to run through how you can actually do this for each of the different areas, so that you have bulletproof offer, so that you have precision targeting, abundance of trust, and a simple structure. Yeah. So first thing is bulletproof offer. Yeah. Now, when it comes to actually creating a bulletproof offer, the first thing that I recommend is going into the value equation. So if you're not familiar with the value equation, it's by Alex Hormozi. Absolutely killed it with this concept. I struggle to add anything to this because it's such a complete way of looking at how you can provide value. So when it comes to your offer, what you want to try and communicate is the dream outcome for your customer. You want to tell them about, like, look, let's say, I'm trying to think of a really good example. Let's say you're an artist, right? And you've got someone, let's say you're an artist and you actually want to sell portraits to people of, important family events, okay? The dream outcome for your customer might be that they have a wall of amazing looking art, yeah? So when it comes to actually selling the product, is that you want to showcase, like, look how amazing things can be for you. Look how amazing your guests might be. It might be about status, and that's what they really care about. It might be about personal emotion, and it might be showing the reaction of someone seeing the art for the first time. Show them the dream outcome, okay? You don't want to tell them about what paints you use. You don't want to tell them about what material the canvas is. You want to show them the dream outcome, okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing is you want to increase the perceived likelihood of achievement, and this comes into trust. Okay, like how much does someone believe that this product or service is actually going to be good for them? So if I'm an artist, I want to actually show my art and show how good it is, and then I want to show how many people have actually received it. I want to show a few different things that are just basically going to make it more likely that people are going to be like, yes, this would actually work for me. Especially if I'm doing like unique pieces of art for someone and I'm painting like, let's say their wedding day. I want to showcase me painting someone else's wedding day and how happy they were when I did it. Okay. Next thing is time delay. If you show someone something amazing and you show someone that you can actually get them this, then the next thing that you want to kind of decrease is the time delay. Yeah, you can get a quote within 15 minutes. You can get a quote today. You can book me within the next 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, you want to showcase that you can take action very, very quickly. There's something immediate that people can get out by interacting with this ad. Okay, so that's the time delay. And then the last aspect is the effort and sacrifice. Okay, so let's say someone's interested and they're like, okay, yeah, I want you to do art on my wedding day. But, I don't want to have to worry about this. I don't want to have to worry about travel. I don't want to have to worry about, organizing everything and timings and stuff like that. I just want to give you the itinerary. You show up and do everything. Yeah. So you can say like, look, don't worry about anything. Don't worry about pains. Don't worry about travel. You just tell us what the time and day and we'll handle everything else internally. You're then decreasing the effort and sacrifice that someone has to have in terms of actually getting them to come along to you. Yeah. That's it. Like, that's a value equation in a nutshell. There's so many ways you can apply this to so many different businesses, but I just feel like if you're wanting to create a great offer, use this framework from Hormozy, and I guarantee you it's going to make things so much easier for you. Okay, so that's the value equation. The next thing in terms of enhancing the offer is adding a few different things about it. So if you're running an ad campaign, these tactics are usually really, really helpful as well. So you've got scarcity, urgency, bonuses, guarantees, and naming. Okay, I won't go into all of these because I think some of them are pretty obvious, but one of the things that people really like when it comes to an ad is because, again, people don't know you, right? People don't know you. People don't really trust you. One of the things that really helps with an offer is having something that has got something guaranteed. Yeah, it's a money back guarantee. If you're not happy with the product or service, don't worry. Like, you're not out of pocket. Nothing's gone wrong. We'll just give you your money back. Yeah. Whatever this stuff is, if you can really sell a dream outcome and you can make it really obvious that they're going to get it, that dream outcome immediately becomes really helpful. Like that guarantee, becomes really helpful because people are going to feel more compelled because they're like, well, it's okay, I've got nothing to lose. If I don't like it, I just get my money back. Yeah. So again, take some time to like sit and go through this. I even recommend, if you haven't already got yourself a copy of $100 Million Offers, please go and do it. I don't even have an affiliate link. I don't care. I just know how good it's going to be for your business if you sit down and go through this. So I strongly recommend it, especially when it comes to running ads. Okay. So that's option one, right? The second reason why your ads will succeed is because you have better targeting. Now, this I find really interesting. When I talk about targeting, what most people think I mean is like technical targeting. Okay, so like when it comes onto the ad campaign, like what are the demographics, like what's the interest and behaviors, the types of audiences and things like that. Like that's what people think I really care about and like talk about. Now, this is important, right? This side of things. People do need to know, like you do need to like program Facebook in a way that it's going to target the right people. However, what has been really successful for me and also what my ads coach taught me is that your creative targeting is actually much more important. And what I mean by that is that when I set up an ad campaign, often we don't set a bunch of like audience requirements. We don't set really specific locations and really specific interests and things like that. What we do is we create a great creative that speaks to the heart of your clients, that speaks to the heart of our ICP, that really resonates with them. And then we actually put the settings on broad. Yeah. So we don't select a really specific demographic. We don't select really specific interests and behaviors. We let the creative do the carrying. And what we mean by that is that if I put an ad campaign out that really speaks to, women in their 40s trying to lose weight, okay? If I put that ad out, then the creative says it, the copy says it, the people that are going to interact with it are going to be women in their 40s that want to lose weight. They're going to be the ones that like it. They're going to be the ones that click that link, okay? And as a result, Facebook can then use the algorithm that it has to try and find more people that have clicked on the ad rather than me telling Facebook, only go for these specific people. Yeah. So that's a way that you can use the creative to target people. And the reason why I like this as well is because sometimes we'll have people that, let's say it's a woman in their 40s that's trying to lose weight. Let's say I get that, right? I'm not a woman in their 40s that's trying to lose weight, but I might know someone that is, and then I can forward it on to them. And what might happen is that the ads are actually better served to, let's say, the significant other, let's say a child, let's say a cousin, whatever it is. That might be actually a better place for you to serve your ad. But you don't know that if you limit Facebook to start with and say, only go for this really specific niche audience because I'm so scared of losing any money. You're not going to lose much money. Facebook has got a really good algorithm in terms of like targeting someone specifically. So I really recommend that, firstly, when it comes to like technical, especially if you're early, do broad targeting. But in terms of the creative, get really specific, get into this stuff. I've listed the stuff here that will help you to create better creatives in terms of like being able to really speak to your audience. So dig yourself deep into this stuff. Yeah, the creative targeting. That's where the money is. That's where the insanely good ads are going to come from. Okay, so that's option 2. Now the third thing that we're going to look at is the abundance of trust. Now this one's a little bit of a longer section, so buckle up because these things are going to be critical. There's 4 ways that you can build trust. The first one is credibility. Okay, so the example that we've got in here, and this is a bad example, is that we guarantee you will 10x your revenue. Okay, that's not showing any credibility. That's not showing any trust. Like you're not going to get much back. So what you can do to improve this is you can have something like join the 5,000 entrepreneurs immediately. 5,000 entrepreneurs. You're showing that you've worked with other people that have used our system to book more sales calls, right? As seen, and then you leverage people that you've worked with, people that have maybe spoken about you, as seen in Forbes and Business Insider. Yeah, again, credibility. So just some advice on this: try and include as much social proof as possible, so testimonials, case studies, reviews. We always have on our ads now that go out rated 5 stars on Trustpilot, rated excellent on Trustpilot. Yeah, immediately people are like, oh, like it's not a scam. I can just Google these guys and see that they've got great results. You know, how easy is that? Okay, so social proof, authority and expertise, again, media features, and then clear and honest messaging. Yeah, like this is such a vague and exaggerated prompt, but if you say like book and more sales calls, that's much more specific. It's much more like believable. Okay, so that's the first area in terms of trust building. Second area is presentableness. I don't even know if this is a real word, okay, but it's what I think is really important. A lot of the time you see people that have run really ugly, bad creatives. Yeah. Now, just to give you an example, like something like this. I hate this creative because the text isn't spread out. The colors quite contrasting. It's difficult to read it. It's awkward. Like even like use of emojis comes across as a little bit cheap. It's just not. There's not that much that is like engaging, especially for my target market. Whereas if I use this creative, which is a lot more clear, there's much more cohesive branding because I'm using the same colors throughout. Like it's much simpler. There's got things that stand out, that like the 30 minutes is a big thing to stand out for us. So we want to have it like there's no overlap in text, there's enough space. Like presentableness is very important. Okay. Again, some advice on this is you want to have it clean and professional. Use Canva for templates if you need to. Easy to read, consistent branding, no typos or format. I don't know if you noticed, but entrepreneurs is spelled wrong here. Yeah. You want to spell things right. You want to make sure that it's really easy and simple for people to engage and think, oh yeah, well these guys know what they're doing. It's trustworthy, it's reliable. Yeah? And presentableness comes into that. The next thing is relevance. So in terms of like the way that you actually speak to people, it needs to be more relevant. I know I've already touched on this, but again, need more leads, improve your marketing with us. It's terrible, okay? But if you say coaches and consultants based in London, if you're struggling to book sales calls, here's how we helped our client go from 2 to 10 booked calls a month. So much more relevant, yeah? Because I know that if I'm at 2 booked calls a month, I'm like, okay, I need to speak to these guys because they're going to help me to get to 10 book calls a month. Yeah. So again, try and make things as specific for your ICP. And once you understand your ICP, that's going to be easier. So targeted messaging, again, like I mentioned, speak to the pain points where possible. Use familiar language, right? People refer to themselves as coaches and consultants. If you refer to them as well, they're going to be like, oh yeah, this is for me. And then customize offers. Yeah. So again, like making it more niche, making it more specific. People based in London, again, it's going to make people feel like this is really for me and they're going to be more engaged with it. Then the last thing is transparency. So quickly on this, struggling to grow your business, get results fast with a proven system, limited spaces available now. Like, it just seems a bit sleazy. It seems a bit cheap. What we want is to get a little bit more specific targeting. So like, tell them exactly what the result is. 10 qualified leads per month, all your money back, okay? Our system helps, again, telling people who the system is for. Try it for 30 days. If you don't see results, we'll give you the refund. Even telling people the pricing sometimes earlier on can help to like increase transparency. You don't always have to do it. It's not something that we do, but just to give you examples of like no hidden fees, no contracts, click below to see how it works. It's really, really honest. And people love honesty because they can make a better decision of whether or not they want to engage in your product or service. Yeah. So hopefully that makes sense. And again, some final advice on this is that you want to be really, really clear about like what you offer. You don't want to lie in your ads. You don't want people to come onto your landing page and be like, oh, I thought that I was getting like a free version of something and now you're asking me to pay for something. You want to be really, really simple and clear with the way that you talk about what you do. You want to decrease risk. You want to, again, authentic testimonials. Instead of just like a quote on a landing page, why not have a video testimonial where you're sitting with that person talking about their experience? That's much more authentic, yeah? And then also talk about like how things actually work, yeah? Like, don't talk about just like, oh, these are the results you're going to get, it's going to be amazing, blah, blah, blah. Actually include something about like how this is going to help and why you can be confident that this is going to work for you, okay? So I appreciate this is a lot of information, but this last section is a little bit more simple. So hopefully it's not too much for you to take in at once. The last thing that I want to talk about is like having a really easy versus difficult process. So a lot of the time people have like a really difficult process where things are cluttered, they're overwhelming, people have got to scroll through multiple different things, they don't really know what their next step is going to be, they've got lots of details that you ask for them up front, then it's like days for them to get a response, it takes ages for them to hear anything from you, they don't really know exactly what the next thing is going to be, and like you just don't have great follow-up, yeah? You do these things, you're going to waste money. Don't do these things. Do this kind of stuff instead, okay? Do the easy follow-up process. Like you want to make it really, really clear. This is exactly what you need to do next. This is why you need to do it next. And then tell them over and over again, yeah? Try and get people to fill out only the essential details first. Once you've got their contact details, then you can ask them to do the next thing, right? But at least you've got their contact details, so you can call them, you can text them, yeah? Instantly, you want to be able to like give them the next part of the funnel. So let's say you ask someone, like, hey, apply for our new coaching program here. They apply for the program, and then that's it. Like, and then it's like, hey, wait 6 days before you can hear from us or whether or not we're going to accept you. So that's not great. Why not just ask them to book in a call with you where you'll tell them where that thing is? So immediately they know what the next step in the journey is. Okay, I've seen this ad, I filled in my application. I've got a call booked in with them on Tuesday to run through like whether or not this is going to work for me. Yeah, really simple stuff, but so effective in terms of like giving the lead confidence that they know what the next step is going to be, right? Again, like even if you do automated processes, follow with them personally, right? Whether it's through WhatsApp, through a text or call, whatever it is, like it's really important that you get that right. And then the last thing is going to be like just reminders of like, hey, by the way, remember you signed up for this thing. This is when we're going to be talking about this thing. You signed up for this thing. Hey, by the way, like even the reminder system that we have, 24 hours before a call, they get an email. Then in the morning, they get text from us saying, hey, looking forward to a call at this time. Then they get a text from us again 5 minutes before the call to say, hey, just in case you need the link, just in case you need the link, just drop me a quick message and I can fire it over. Like, bro, in terms of being able to get leads to follow the process and actually show up and just know what the next thing is, we made it so blatantly obvious that even an 8-year-old could follow it, right? And that's what we want. We want people that are maybe really busy, that are really like sometimes uneducated, that don't actually know or what the next step is. We want it to be so in their face that it's going to be inconvenient for them to not follow through with what they've said that they're going to do. Okay, so that's a lot of information in terms of like actually being able to go through everything. If you have any questions, let me know. I appreciate that this is a lot of information to take in, but the last thing that I wanted to just quickly mention is that we have got that Notion page, this guide in terms of how you can actually set up your campaign, all the information, all the details. We've even got like a checklist for building your campaign, reviewing your publish, the amount of times that we've set up a campaign and something went wrong. Like we've actually built out this to make sure that we don't have things going wrong. And then we've even got a review section where we actually ask ourselves a few questions. So if you want access to this, it's going to be in the description of this video. If you did enjoy this, please like, And more importantly, share it with someone that is running ads or is thinking about running ads, so that you can help them to avoid months and months of mistakes that we've made. And hopefully your ads are successful.